is Joe Betar.
This is Ramon Robles.
And we talk to fascinating people about their love of hunting, shooting sports, and the outdoors. This is Hunting Matters. All right. Well, welcome to this week's episode of Hunting Matters with Ramon Robles and the other guy.
Oh, no, come on now. It's Joe Betar. Sometimes my name's mentioned. Sometimes it's not.
That's Dr. Betar to you.
Professor, Doctor of Professionals. Dr.
That's
Professor.
right. Master of Time, Space, and Dimension.
Good to see you, Dr. Betar.
Good to see you too. What have you been up to? Any? Are you getting ready for Halloween?
Yeah, Halloween's this week. I love it. My kids are great at it. They learn taxation. Boys, you think you have 100 pieces of candy, but in reality, you have 60. And so, you know, they learn that lesson real quick. But it's fun. I mean, they get it. They're into it.
Yeah. My favorite time when my kids were young, they'd go to bed and you pick through all the pieces that you really liked, and I don't know what happened.
Yep.
Just all the Butterfingers and Snickers are gone.
That's right. You get those candies wrapped in yellow and strawberry wrapping and the candy corn.
Yeah. Least favorite Halloween candy, Ramon.
It's got to be candy corn, right?
No.
Almond Joy?
No.
What?
Anything made with coconut or gummies.
Yeah. Well, see, Almond Joy, that's what I was thinking was coconut. Yeah.
And they used to have those little taffies, those peanut butter taffies that were wrapped in the orange or black paper when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Hate them.
Yep.
Hate them. Louis van Bergen's joining us today. Louis, do they have Halloween? You guys going trick-or-treating in Africa?
Yeah, they're going to have to walk quite a while before they get to a house over here.
Exactly.
It sucks.
Exactly.
Two houses. That's it.
Yeah. Well, it's you also have to carry a rifle with you between houses because of the animals. But folks, if you're joining us on the Hunting Matters podcast this week, Louis van Bergen's with us. He's the owner and outfitter of Spiral Horn Safaris in the Limpopo province of South Africa. Ramon, can you point that out on a map?
I could, actually. It's just north of, well, we'll get into that later.
Louis, welcome to the show.
It's not where everyone would be trick-or-treating, I promise.
So it's, at the time of this, it's 3:00 in the afternoon here. What time is it over there?
It's 10 o'clock.
Okay. 7 hours.
Yeah. We're 7 hours ahead of you guys.
Well, thanks for staying up.
No problem.
Kids are all in bed by this time?
Yeah, the boys have got school early. They got to get up at 5 o'clock and catch a bus for another hour before they get to school.
Wow.
That's
I know we're going to talk about hunting and Spiral Horn Safaris. What is it like to be a kid growing up in South Africa, having to catch a bus and ride a bus an hour every day? That's like me driving to work in Houston.
We debate about it a lot, but I think, you know, if that's what you're used to and that's what you grew up with, it's nothing funny for these boys to get up at 5 a.m. and then, you know, they get dressed and they're ready to get after it by 6, and then they've got another hour, so they're at school at about 7:30.
Yeah,
and that's a normal day for them.
Yeah. I've met your kids. You have a great family. They're typical. They're all boys. I'll tell you that they are all boys. Where did you grow up, Louis?
Well, I grew up in Pretoria, so we've always had the place up here. And then, you know, my dad was actually a chartered accountant, so we lived in town. And years later, when I started Spiral, and you know, we started with the construction up here and developing the place. And well, as time went by and the business did better, Kareem and myself decided to move up here permanently. And what a life. We're very blessed, very privileged to be out here. We won't go back to civilization, as they say. It would be kicking and screaming if we have to.
Right. So you're a PH, professional hunter.
Yes, sir.
And an outfitter. And for those who don't know, tell us a little bit about what it takes to become a PH in your country.
Well, in South Africa, you do a 2-week course, and that's basically it. To be honest, to become a professional hunter. But I think, you know, there's a lot more to it. You've got to do apprenticeship. You've got to build up experience underneath a very experienced outfitter. and that gives you a good. I think if you do about 3 or 4 years apprenticeship under a good hunting outfitter, that'll give you experience so that you can move forward. We don't get open licenses. In other words, we're not allowed to hunt big five. I believe you've got to have 60 days guided experience under a fully qualified professional hunter before you're allowed to hunt big five. So they're changing. They're gonna this year. There's talks. There's a lot of things changing in the industry over here. They're gonna definitely make it a 3-year course and give you a diploma. So a lot's changing. They are making it stricter, and they're making it a much longer term course. And I think, most of the guys out there are very for it.
Why are they doing that?
I think it's to give the young guys a better opportunity at gaining experience. I don't think you can truly grasp what professional hunting is about if you, let's say, for instance, come out of town and you've done your course and you start just hunting and guiding clients. That's personally for me, and if I take where you start out and being older now, you gain so much knowledge by particularly putting that time out there and being just exposed to guiding clients, but under the wing of a qualified, experienced professional hunter. I think they're trying to make it just add experience for young guys. I think that's where they're going with it. In Zimbabwe and Zambia, it's a 4-year deal. I mean,
really,
and as it should be. Should be.
Will the people who already have their PH certifications be grandfathered in?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. No, the guys will be, but we'll have to do a few courses from what I hear, and it's just medic and some basic refresher courses. But the old guys will be grandfathered in.
Now, where did you do your apprenticeship?
I did it at Gerard Steenkamp in Nylstrom, which is Morimoli now. I did it way back in 2008. No, it's very good in a certain sense. You learn the law, which is very obviously applicable, and that's a large part of what you take from it. I think. I think it's important to say, we grew up with a ranch out here, and it's a massive advantage to grow up with land and be exposed to the animals and know that it's not just, the hunting side is fantastic, but there's a lot more to it than hunting. You're custodians of land life. There's a great deal more to it than just guiding a client, and you can share that knowledge and pass it on to your clients, to future generations. So it's important that we, as I said, become custodians of the land and not just think that it's about killing animals. That's not nearly what no hunter is about that anyway.
Right. I had my first trip to Namibia a few years back, and I was, I've been hunting my entire life, and it was amazing the things that I learned about wildlife management, about what you guys have to do on large operations and managing. Of course, the species are all, exotic to us. We see them more and more around Texas properties and Texas ranches, but nothing like on the scale of, what you guys deal with on a daily basis. And it's pretty amazing what you do. And I learned everything from baboon management to keeping your towers safe and your supplies and things like that. The first time I was driving around this guy's property, I was like, why is everything wrapped in barbed wire? And he goes, look over there. And there was like 50 baboons over there just yelling at us. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. He said they destroy everything. Do you have that property around your problem around your place?
Not so much. They move through, a big danger well, not danger, but something we got to deal with daily is leopard and cheetah and jackal, so predation. And obviously, cheetah and leopard are both closed in South Africa right now. So our populations are doing very well.
I was going to ask you about that because a lot of people say they're like, oh, the leopard and cheetah are in trouble. And these are good. Again, these are people that are speaking uninformed, never been there, that sort of thing. Tell us a little bit about your populations of big cats there.
I think there's more big cats now than ever, and it just makes sense because if you look what South Africa has done and what the breeding industry has done in South Africa, we've when I was a young boy, I always tell the story, but buffalo and eland and sable, you'd never see them here, and it's not. I'm talking 1990s, because they didn't exist here, or they weren't native to this part of Limpopo. It's just because they were shot out, and we brought these animals back basically and built up giant herds to the point now that just up and down my street, there's in excess of 500 buffalo, So at the end of the day, it's very the animal population, the density is very high. So it just makes sense that the predators are doing well.
Yeah, it's that's amazing and good to hear both. Yeah, we have a common friend who's hunted with you a couple of times, and he sent me some videos of you guys doing animal captures and wildlife management and that sort of thing, which he was amazed by. Tell us a little bit about the day-to-day of that. I mean, you guys have, of course, you're a hunting operation, but even more so, you're a conservation operation, you're a wildlife and habitat management operation. There's so many different facets to what you do. For those of you who are not informed on it, talk a little bit about the day-to-day of when you don't have hunters in camp or families in camp. What do you guys have to do?
We are constantly busy, whether it's mending fences, feeding. I mean, feeding is a topic that's maybe controversial, but due to our population densities, we have to supplement. It's just what it is, and that makes sure that we take care of these animals. By no means does it make I don't think it changes their behavior at all. It's very clear that when the rains come, these animals they don't want to know anything of you then because it's rained. But yeah, feeding is a big deal over here for us. It's also a lot of a great portion of where our revenue that's generated goes is to supplement these animals, keep them alive. And then, we've got to keep improving and doing maintenance around the lodge. Right now, personally, I mean, I'm in the process of doing solar, so we want to go completely off grid and put in a big solar system, try and do eco-friendly, and at the same time try and cut costs. So it's all about managing the wildlife and then infrastructure as well.
It's the same thing. You were talking about supplemental feeding. It's the same thing here in Texas. I mean, we're getting ready to we're starting rifle season for whitetail next this coming Saturday. And it's the same thing here. Depending on what the rains have been in the spring and what the crops of acorns are going to be on the ground, you may never see a whitetail come to a feeder in Texas, which, we're legal in Texas to supplemental feed. But I talked to the ranch owner where I hunt, and he's like, I've got a lease up in the hill country, and he's like, they're not coming to the feeders. There's so many acorns on the ground. You're just going to get out and hunt them, which I like. I like to get out of the blind and walk around and do spot stalk and that sort of thing. So how's the drought situation been over the past year there?
It's dry. The whole of Africa is actually dry. I went up to Zambia a while back. They've had the driest year in 80 years. Wow. Victoria Falls, half of Victoria Falls is dry at the moment, which is, I can't remember when last that's happened. We are going through a big drought. They're predicting decent rains this season, and that'll change a lot for us. But to get back to the feeding, if you look at it, it's funny that hunters actually, this whole area. So we've got a river running about 20 miles east of my property, which is the Crocodile River, and there's a lot of irrigation. Now, those guys, that plant alfalfa and stuff like that, they wouldn't exist was it not for hunters and the hunting operations and breeding operations or game farms, whichever box you want to put it in. So once again, it's hunters' dollars going to work and directly funding conservation. I mean, those guys make a living selling that feed to us. So right now they're smiling. We're not.
It's a cycle. I don't think a lot of people, somebody flies in, they go to your place, they're hunting there. They're like, okay, I'm here to hunt. We're having a good time. We're having good food, good camaraderie, that sort of thing. But, people like Dan, who we talked about earlier, a common friend of ours, there are some people who are more interested in knowing the whole life cycle of it. And you're exactly right. The fact that, these dollars that come in from hunting support a whole community on various different levels. I mean, you have to pay for water sometimes. You got to pay for supplemental feeding. These guys, have to grow alfalfa, et cetera, et cetera. The tourism dollars that come in, if you're booking side trips for your clients or things like that. I mean, it's I've heard it time and time again. I don't think we can ever talk about it or say it too much, that the dollars that come from the hunting are what really drive it. And that's what makes those animals valuable and makes them where they're not just a commodity. Because if you didn't have hunters, guess what? You couldn't feed them. And this, I'm preaching to the choir. You couldn't feed them. You couldn't water them. And you'd be forced to go, okay, well, I just got to let them die. I got to watch them die in front of me.
Well, that's the reason, when I grew up, in the 80s, there was virtually no wildlife. It was all cattle. We're a living testament to the fact that hunters' dollars bring in the wildlife. It brings the infrastructure that comes with it. It's changed the landscape of this area forever. I mean, we've had the place since '82, and what I grew up as a young boy seeing and what it is today. I mean, what an absolute success story South Africa is, and Namibia the same. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah. You spent some time in Zambia as a young man, didn't you?
Yeah. So I worked for my uncle in Zambia, and he's got a very good hunting operation he had up there, and he still has one here in South Africa. But basically, that's how I started building up a bit of experience. Is I was privileged enough that he'd take me up there, and I'd work for him and learn the ropes.
But you say you worked for him. He'll bet he put you to work nonstop.
No, he put me to work. He's one of those guys he's the last guy in and the first guy, or the first guy in and the last guy out. So I had to hang out with that. And I grew up fast.
Yeah. What I know we're kind of getting romantic here, but what is it about the people of Africa that makes you guys so? Listen, I met people like you in New Zealand. Met people like you that live in Montana. I mean, you're just a hardy people. I mean, is it the way of life? Is it the way you brought up? It's just, what is it?
No, I think you not to get philosophical, but grace. You realize that everything you have is due to God's grace. We're dependent, just like any farmer or any guy that we're just so dependent on weather and what we get by God's hand that it really humbles you. You want to be humble, try and survive a drought without having people around you and a support system around you and grace. So I think, and then our friends, you guys over there that come every year, and it's just wonderful. You're either born for it, to interact with people and welcome people, or you're not. So here jokingly people say, "Aren't you lonely out there?" I say, "No, never. We're never lonely. We've always got people coming and going."
Yeah. Ramon's a people person.
I am a people person, and listening to you veterans of the hunt talk is fascinating. But I gotta bring in the perspective of somebody who's green and doesn't know anything about hunting in Africa, doesn't know much about the country of Africa, or the continent of Africa. I'm intimidated when I think of going out to your place and hunting, because I haven't hunted much, and I want the kids to see the world. I want them to see the real Africa and what that is. How would you, I don't know if convince or sell is the right word, but someone to get down there and not be intimidated by your place?
No, look, I think for most people it's an intimidating thought, but it's firstly, if you have friends that have done it, it's a great way of getting started, especially like if you belong to Eastern Safari Club, for instance, you're gonna meet guys who've been to Africa. And that's a fantastic introduction. The shows where you get to meet your professional hunters or your outfitters is fantastic as well. Now, the big selling point to me in Africa or South Africa, any hunting operation out here, you're not going. This is so personalized. We're going to meet you at the airport.
Mm.
You're not going into the great unknown. We meet you at the airport. Depending on what area you hunt, for instance, our area is 4 hours drive from Johannesburg. We're going to guide you right here to the ranch and to the lodge, and basically you get taken care of 24/7. Your family will be taken care of. It's literally the plunge of getting on the plane. That is the hardest part for most people. Once you're here and then you see everything, you see how easy it is, you experience all the animals, and have the camaraderie around the fire.
Yeah,
It's something, completely different. I think that's what makes it special. Is yes, you can do it in Texas, and there's nothing wrong with hunting exotics in Texas. I'm very pro for it.
yeah,
But this is you get to experience the true culture.
yeah. We have in Harrisburg, Texas, I think it is, Joe Betar. They have a Statue of Liberty there, so you could go exotic game hunting in Texas. You can go see the Statue of Liberty in Texas, or you can go to the real deal.
There's everything in Texas. There's a Stonehenge just north of Kerrville. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but there's a miniature Stonehenge just outside of Kerrville, Texas, not too far from where I hunt. But Louis is right. I mean, folks who are just joining us, our guest today is Louis van Bergen of Spiral Horn Safaris. I'm going to give out his website. We'll do it again later, but it's spiralhornsafaris.com. And we're going to talk more about his operation. But, I've heard all my life, and listen, I'm a novice. I'm a novice intermediate or international hunter. I've done a few things out of country, but people are like, oh, once you go, man, it's like, when are you going to go back? And it just gets inside of you. And I went to Namibia, and I was like, oh, yeah, I got invited on this trip. I was like, well, this will be fun. This will be cool. Good experience. It's like the first time I went bear hunting. I shot a bear, and I thought I'll be done with bear hunting. No. Same thing with Africa. I can't wait to go back. In fact, we're planning a trip with Louis next year to shoot Cape Buffalo with a bow, which I've told you about, Ramon, before. Yeah. We'll see how that pans out. Of course, he's going to be standing right here with a double rifle.
Yeah, you've seen those, right? You know how big they are.
It's on my bucket list, so we'll see what happens. And I'm looking at the website now. One of his big splash pages is a giant Cape Buffalo, and I've had lots of friends and associates that have gone there. But there's something about, I guess it's traveling to areas unknown and experiencing different cultures and different people. I mean, when we did Namibia, I mean, I was getting along famous with the trackers and the skinners and PHs and stuff. And they at first I was kind of like, these guys look at me, look at this old white man. He's out here just, and they see it all the time. I mean, it was my perception, but we quickly became friends, and they were giving me a hard time. And I love the whole experience. I wish the plane ride was a little bit quicker, but I love the whole experience. So, but I think, Louis, that's one thing that, after getting to know you over the years, the one thing that is very unique about your operation is you cater to all kinds of different people: novice, expert, rifle, bow, family, individual hunters. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, we're very, if I can put it, old traditional style. So we're not mixing groups. We're very much one-on-one. I'm still in camp with every group, and I want to hunt with at least one member in the group. So I'm physically out there being a PH with hunting with you guys. And for us, it's really important not to, if I can put it this way, get so big that you forget who's supporting you. And I think there's a lot smarter ways that guys are doing it maybe today, and I'm happy for them, and I don't want to take anything away from it, but we've chosen a line, and we're going to stick to that. And quality over quantity, quality experience for the client, is always one that is not just about the animal, it's about the camaraderie. And it gets back to the fact that you are hunting with, be it landowners, be it a guy who has grown up in the area, someone that's familiar with the area. And that's real important stuff, because at the end of the day, that adds to your success. What we've got to remember is we're not just selling a hunt, we are selling absolutely experience. You have to experience the culture. It is unlike, we're very close to the Texans, I think, with subtle differences, and once you've seen, as I said, this is the difference between, I always put it in the context of fishing in the ocean versus fishing in a pond. Yeah, you never know quite what you're going to get. In a pond, you know what you're going to get. You'll either catch bass or you won't.
Right. Right. What do you think? What do you think is probably the greatest misperception about hunting in Africa that people outside of your country have?
Well, the only misperception is people who haven't been. People who haven't been. No, they can make some pretty bold statements, and they can, especially guys who are anti-hunting. They've got no idea what's going on here. They've got no idea what the guys in Africa do. The amount of time, money, effort they put into just conserving wildlife. I mean, like I said, I just got back from Zambia about 2 weeks ago, and I was blown away at what a fantastic job the guys are doing up there. And bear in mind, it's vast. It's 1.4 million acres that those guys are managing up there, and it's just it's extraordinary.
Wow, that's crazy.
You have your 300-acre lease, Joe Betar, that you got to take care of. How about a couple of million acres?
It doesn't compare at all.
If I could go back to the experience portion just a couple of minutes ago, I always like to envision, I have 2 boys, 9 and 6, and a wife. She's smoking hot. And if we want to go out there, what would, for me, I'd want the boys to see real life, for lack of a better word. I mean, this is Africa. This isn't animals in the zoo. This is their house. This is where they live. So if a family like mine were to come, can you kind of walk us through what we would experience, starting from the ride from Johannesburg to your place, and, our experience throughout the vacation?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to be driving at night. So the first part is to be very honest, is not as exciting. But once you get to the lodge and you get settled in, the next morning we generally go out. I mean, we take the guys to just go look at animals, exactly like you said, so they can just get acquainted with, especially first-time guys. First-time guys, they have a list. I always laugh. They have a list. That list changes. Just it's never that list. So we take the families out, or it doesn't matter whether you're a family or a individual hunter, and you just go and see animals, and that's most probably the most important thing. We can at times spend a whole day just doing that.
Yeah.
And then we'll check the rifles. What we've seen with the ladies is they love seeing the chef prepare food, and hanging out with my wife Karine, and talking to the cleaning ladies. They love that interaction. The boys, they just, I mean, we have a lot of youth and families that come here. It's funny. You just, the dust kind of touches their heels and they just change. They put the iPads down and they start looking around. It's amazing to see it. It's wonderful to see.
Yeah, they need that.
And then we check the rifles, or be it bows, and from there we go out with each group. We can't hunt more than 2 hunters and 1 professional hunter, so we'll split you guys up, or we'll do a mixed bag and have 2 professional hunters on 1 truck. It doesn't matter, and we continue. There's a lot of guys that want to hunt with their family and stay with their family on the same vehicle, so we cater to that. It's very simple for us, and you get to experience, go on stalks with each other. If someone messes up your stalk, I'm sorry, but he's family then.
Yeah. Well, what I'm hoping,
kid behind you shouting, "Look, he's right there."
I'm hoping maybe we can get a bigger, blinder, older animal that I can take down with my bare hands just to impress the kids.
You've got competition. The leopard and the cheetah try and do that before you do.
Yeah, that's true. They're a little faster than me too.
Oh, that's hilarious. We've talked about this, and Louis, you and I have talked about this. Ramon and I have talked about it. We've talked to several guests about it, but I just, it never gets old. But I want you to send a message out to our listening and viewing audience about something that just drives me absolutely insane, and that is people from other countries, legislative bodies from other countries, trying to regulate your livelihood in Africa by shutting down trophy imports of certain species in certain countries. Talk a little bit about that and the frustrations and how you guys are trying to overcome that, if you can.
Well, it's a massive challenge. There's great organizations that are fighting it. You guys are Houston Safari Club, and then we've got Wildlife Ranching South Africa and FASA. Those are the 2 governing bodies here in South Africa. They're doing wonderful work to try and combat it, but what people don't, what the anti-hunting population or people don't understand about what happens is, first of all, we put land aside for this wildlife. It belongs to someone, especially in South Africa. It's not, the land belongs to someone, and if we can't raise wildlife on it, we're going to put cattle on it. It's as simple as that. I mean, in the beginning of our conversation, I said in the 1985, 1985, yeah. Sorry, I just got confused there a little bit. There was nothing, in the sense of there wasn't the wildlife numbers, not near what we had, and it was all cattle, all that this legislation is doing is it's causing job losses. It's causing the destruction of habitat because people then go over to other options. And it's just absolutely, there's a zero win in that policy of trying to limit it. We're very overpopulated in South Africa with elephant at the moment. Botswana just went through the same thing. They've released a pretty big quota of elephant, and that's great. I mean, they have to be managed. Otherwise, if the elephants break all the trees and destroy all the habitat, guess what? The other animals go, and they die because there's nothing for them to eat. And then once they've completely destroyed it, they die from hunger. So it has to be managed. It gets back to the point of we're the custodians of the land, and there's no hunter. I've yet to meet a hunter that enjoys driving around a place, doesn't matter fenced, unfenced, who loves seeing just bush, not seeing an animal. That's why people are here, is to see these animals. They're here to invest directly into the conservation of these animals by hunting. It sounds crazy, but it honestly, there is no better model than what we have right now.
I think
Sorry, Joe. This
No.
area we were up in Zambia. This guy, I mean, he it's 1.5 million acres, as I said. Now, I think they've got 130 staff on anti-poaching. I mean, just think about the jobs that's created. Just think about the amount of effort that goes into monitoring that area. And I mean, hats off to those guys there. They are doing an absolutely fantastic job. I couldn't believe what I saw. So, and that's a hunting operation.
Yeah. Do you have to deal with poaching at your place a lot in your area?
No, not so much. We're right up on the Botswana border, and Botswana is very stable. You'll every now and then you'll hear from about something that got snared, but very, very rarely does that happen. And certainly we don't have any problems on most of the plains game or buffalo. The only thing we have a massive problem on is rhino. So rhino, what we did as an area is we do a lot of anti-poaching under the funnel of an organization called Matlabas, and those guys do a fantastic job. We've put up license plate recognition cameras. All our main roads are basically monitored, and that controls it just ensures that we can see who accessed our area, and we can actually literally, if you were to hunt something or poach a rhino, we would be able to stop you before you can get out of the area, because it's going to take you an hour to get out. And that's a fantastic initiative that the guys have put together over here. And I think we're gaining ground on the rhino thing. But the truth of the matter is once again, we have to actually open the rhino horn trade. They're closing a trade which already exists. We don't have the time to educate these people and change their culture, that a rhino horn's actually just keratin and it's not, it's a fingernail. But we just don't have the time to change their culture or their beliefs. We just got to be able to lower the price. So there's much less of an incentive.
Yeah, when we were in Namibia, they had this place we were on, which I'm not going to give the name because of this specific point. They're like, you can't take your phones with you. We're going to take you to the rhino area. It was heavily guarded 24/7. They had a breeding colony there. They had guards walking and living on that section of the property in rotations. They were walking around with shotguns, but I wished I could have brought an AR for them and equipped them with some ARs from Texas. But it was amazing. I mean, they invested a lot of money into protecting the rhino that they had there, and they had this one place was. I guess the sad story was one of the biggest breeding males they had was actually poached because an employee that was there for 8 years was the one who let the guys in, and he probably got pennies on the dollar for whatever, and lost his job and went to jail, but it was just in such demand they couldn't walk away from the dollars.
Yeah, and the damage is already done. I stand corrected, but I believe a rhino gives a calf once every 3 years. So you gotta really, it's a heck of a lot of damage. If you lose a rhino cow, it takes them a long time to reproduce. So it's everywhere in Africa that we've got a problem with the rhino. And it's like I said, we do not have the time to change people's culture. We have to just lower the price. We have to dump the market so we can make it less attractive to do it.
What do you think, Ramon? We want to get in a rhino breeding business?
Well, that when you say flood the market, is it with forgive my ignorance, is it with real horns or is it something that's factory made?
No, with real horns. There's stockpiles. Okay. There's massive stockpiles of horn, and some of the large rhino breeders, who I'm not going to name, have stockpiles. So we're allowed to keep the horn, but we're just not allowed to sell it legally. And therein lies the problem. So you kind of wonder who's keeping this closed and why.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't know who's benefiting out of keeping it closed.
Black market, the guys running the black market. That's who's, organized crime. That's who's benefiting. Because if you lower the price, guess what? It's not as valuable anymore. Everybody can have rhino horn, and you don't have to pay to get, whatever they believe it is, medicinal male enhancement. It's just, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got a bunch of fingernails I can sell you for $100,000. I mean, like you said, it's the same thing. We can clip our nails and fill up a bottle, Ramon, and just be millionaires.
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard some of the firsthand stories about these animals being poached, where that horn goes and how many times it's handed off, and where they find them in a hotel room in some city in a back alley. It's amazing. It's like their version of The Sopranos, just watching or hearing about these things. But
and a very good friend of mine, he had I think at the time he had 40 breeding rhino. And we got back from hunting and we found, I think, 5 or 6 dead.
Wow.
And it was horrible. It was horrible. 5 or 6 poached. And it actually, it drove him to the point where he sold all his rhino. And that's a great shame, because there's another guy who had rhino, who was breeding with him, they were doing well, and he's out of the market. Habitat lost, everything lost. So no, the rhino thing is a big problem.
Well, I'm not going to go there. Let's switch gears a little bit. Bow hunting. Let's nerd out. Let's geek out on bow hunting. So one of the reasons I want to come visit you is because I want to bow hunt a big animal, a Cape buffalo. And let's talk a little bit about that experience, because this is going to be, I'm going to be Joe Betar, will be a baby in diapers with a bow walking around the areas in Africa as far as this goes. I mean, I've shot big, elk and things like that, bear, things like that, but this is a whole nother ball game. And in fact, Ramon included, every time I tell somebody, yeah, man, we're going to South Africa in August with my buddy Louis van Bergen at Sparrowhorns. He goes, really? What are you going to do? We're going to hunt Cape buffalo with a bow, I think. We're going to give it a try. And this is the look I get.
Well, I'm very passionate about bow hunting, and the first thing you got to understand about here, different to the US, is we don't have. You guys have one heck of a advantage. You call your animals. In other words, you can bugle an elk and stuff like that. We can't. So it's very challenging, and not to say, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from it. I hunted an elk and they called it in, and it was just one of the best experiences I've ever had. But in saying that, in Africa, it's a lot around water. So everything bow hunting wise revolves around water, because it's dry. We are semi-desert. You guys in Texas know about dry climate.
We're having our first drops of rain today.
So we have elevated bulls.
It's been a month since we've had rain in Houston, believe it or not.
We need it bad now, but anyway. So it's elevated hides. Then we have pit blinds. Now, pit blind, I love it when you guys see a pit blind for the first time, because it's half of the thing is under the ground. People look at you kind of funny, saying, how am I going to fit in there? No, there's a steps going down. But anyway, pit blinds. And then a new thing that has come a long way for us is tree stands. We don't have as many straight trees as you guys do, so we're not as, it's not as easy for us to use them, but they work fantastically well if you do it on trails and on stuff like bushbuck that is very hard to pet and very skittish. So those are the three kind of stands or hides that we use. And then walk and stalk is effective on some animals, but it takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, and I'm sure the same in the US. You're not walk and stalking a kudu bull in Africa with a bow. I've yet to see it be done. But you start talking about something like Cape buffalo. I don't think there's a more challenging and more rewarding hunt than taking a Cape buffalo on foot with your bow. It's just, in my book, that is just the best hunt you can have.
When I think of hunting a Cape buffalo with a bow, I think harpoon. I think that's what you need.
No. I mean, to get back to basics 101 is, for instance, newbie hunters to Africa, I wouldn't even change my bow setup at all. So your normal 40, 50 pound bow setup,
Wow.
that you hunt whitetail with, that's what you bring here. Don't change it. Don't change a thing. That's exactly what we want. The only thing is the arrows. You can contact the guys from Grizzly Sticks, for instance. They build a fantastic arrow and broadhead combination. It's a good company, and they sell a great product. And that's it. I mean, once you start talking about dangerous game, you want the arrow weight to be around about buffalo 700 to 800 grains. And you want to be shooting a 65, 70 pound bow. I mean, that'll get it done. You don't need more than that. Believe it or not, if you place it really well, you'll shoot straight through that buffalo.
Any particular broadhead that you prefer for Cape?
It's the same one that Grizzly Sticks sells.
Yeah.
Now it's basically the German Kinetics. I believe that's what they call it.
And is that a two? Is that a two? It just have two cutting surfaces?
It's a two-blade.
Yeah,
it's a two-blade, but they've got different variations of it. They've got like the Samurai, and then there's another one. There's another one that's a single bevel broadhead.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever shown up in camp? Hey, Louis, has anybody ever shown up in camp with a mechanical broadhead?
They do. No, and jokingly, the mechanicals have come a long way. They out of crossbows, they work fantastically well. Sure. I can easily recommend using a mechanical out of a crossbow. I definitely won't go after any thick-skinned animal in Africa with a mechanical, with a bow. No,
I'm not a fan.
But it happens. Yeah, there's some guys that have fantastic success with it, but I'm on your side of the fence.
I'm kind of like, sometimes you don't need the car with all the bells and whistles, because the more stuff you have, the more the chances there's something going wrong, and that's what I found personally with mechanical broadheads.
No, I agree, but I think the most important thing, and what guys they make the mistake a lot. They go out and buy a new bow, and I understand why, because it's a big trip and you're all excited, and they tend to want to go for a 70 pound, 60 pound bow, and it's not necessary. We all know this. It's all about placement.
Yeah.
That's what's the most important, and then giving the animal time. That's something we've learned now over the years, and I'm sure you guys use the same tactic, is give an animal enough time to expire.
Right.
Don't just jump out the blind.
I'm bringing a 10-year-old Matthews Z7, the same one I've been shooting for 10 years.
You're perfect. Perfect.
And just for clarification, with hunting rules and laws in Africa, are exploding tips allowed or not? No. Okay.
You wish.
No exploding.
No exploding. Okay.
That would be fun.
There's a guy, when you're hunting buffalo, there's a guy behind you with an exploding tip.
Good. Excellent.
I'm surprised you didn't jump all over that one, Ramon.
I took the high road, Joe.
I know, you're classier than I am. Louis, tell us a little bit. I know you've hunted many times, many places over the years. Tell us one story that just comes right to the front of your head where you were involved in a dangerous experience with an animal, whether it's you hunting or whether you were guiding hunting, or you were actually, just tell us one of the stories that just automatically comes to your head so we can live vicariously through you.
I tend to avoid those.
I know.
But yeah, I suppose it was hunting with my uncle, hunting a leopard at the time. Yeah, and we were sitting. This is in Zambia, and we were sitting waiting for the leopard, and well, lo and behold, a lion came in, and he actually, well, we didn't know it was a lion at the time, but he started sniffing the blind, and
Oh, wow.
my uncle he just grabbed that 470 and smashed the back. Now this isn't a fixed blind. This is a straw hut,
Right.
if I could just put it in. Uh, and yeah, no, he took the butt of the 470 and he hit it against the grass. And when he roared, we heard it was a lion. So it's, you know, I don't have these very scary stories, and I hope I don't ever need to have them. But
No, that's pretty
yeah.
scary. No, you have one. That's scary.
Yeah, a lion between you, a wall of straw between you and a
Yeah.
lion. I think that's close enough.
Yeah.
Well, the Cape Buffalo, the thing that's always intrigued me about them is every time they look at you, they look at you like you owe them money.
Yeah, but the wonderful thing about them is the interaction. We've gotten, especially with the bow, you've got to get in close. You're in situations where a buffalo will be walking 5-6 yards away from you. It won't be the bull you want to hunt.
Sure.
It'll be a calf or a cow or something like that. And that interaction is just magical. It's that buffalo hunting with a bow is truly exciting, and it should be done on foot.
Yeah.
I understand that, some people can't walk those distances, but if you can at all, it should be experienced on foot.
Yeah. Well, I've got the bike out, so we're training for it. Ramon likes to get in front of him and do the Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah.
That's how he just walks them down.
Yeah. Well, I'm good at standing behind you.
Yes.
That's hilarious. Tell us a little bit about what you think in your mind. What is it about Spiral Horn Safaris that makes you guys stand apart from other people, other operations?
I think the fact that we're still mom and pop, if I can put it that way, very simple. The fact that my wife is still involved, my whole family is involved, and that we focus on a per group basis. And quality is at the end of the day, I realize we are a little bit more expensive than some of the other operations, but I think at the end of the day, for me, it's really important that a client doesn't need to come back and shoot another animal of the same species just because he got an average animal. We try and focus on the one you take, and it doesn't happen with every animal, but the one you take, you're going to be spending a lot of money in mounting it and getting it back home. We don't want you to remount another one.
Yeah, and you guys specialize in predominantly plains game. Pretty much anything plains game you can find there, right?
Yeah, no, everything plains game, all the color variants you can find here. It's very unique in the bushveld in Limpopo. You can hunt the Springbok Grand Slam right on my property, which is very unique. I won't go into all the detail as to why. We used to never have Springbok in Limpopo, even though they are indigenous, but the ones that were here died out. And now if you move them from the south up to Limpopo, they get a disease called hartwater, and if they get that, they die. So my Springbok are hartwater immune.
That's neat. And food's okay at your place? I've heard people kind of tend to go hungry when they're staying with you guys.
Well, it depends how you treat us.
That's fair.
And how good you are in the field.
No, I think we sample a lot of what we harvest. It's important for everyone in camp everyone always asks, ask who to taste, ask this taste, and we try and cook up venison every night, and we do something else like chicken or beef with it, just for someone who doesn't enjoy venison as much. And now you have a 3-course meal every night, and We'll be okay.
We ate just about everything we shot in when we did Namibia, and there wasn't a single thing I ate that I was not like, wow, this is incredible. And I was also introduced to sundowners for the first time. Ramon, you know what that is?
No.
Tell them, Louis.
It's very special. It's when you've got to have a drink when the sun is setting.
Oh, yeah, I could do
They
that.
take you to these beautiful spots, and everybody has a cocktail, and it's just, I know it sounds corny, but I think it's really special. It's pretty cool.
No.
You're looking at this landscape and these animals, and it's incredible. I think what was brandy and Coke is what we had one night.
Yeah.
That's a big deal there, right?
Yeah, no. If you a real farmer, you can have brandy and Coke. We'll have to check your resume, but if you're a real farmer, we can have a brandy and Coke, and it's not the brandy you get in the US.
No.
Trust me, it's not.
Yeah.
Ramon and I could just come over there and eat and drink for a week.
Yeah. Let me know what kind of alcohol you need over there, and I'll bring it.
Let me think. There was something else I was going to ask you.
Well,
go ahead, Ramon.
He's an expert, and so he could probably answer this question more accurately than anybody we've ever asked this question to, and that is, what is the largest animal you could take down with your bare hands?
I don't know. How strong are you?
No, you. I mean,
You. He's talking about you.
Me.
You. Yeah, not me. Right? Mine's like a chihuahua.
Yeah, no. I'll draw the line past the rabbit. I'll draw the line. I mean, some of these animals are so strong. I've been on a Nyala bull before that was tranquilized, and they woke it up without telling me. He got up. He taught me a lesson.
Yeah.
No,
Ramon, you would have laughed at me a couple of weeks ago. We were doing an animal capture in South Texas, and I was loading an Addix, an antelope, big antelope, into the back of a side by side, and he wasn't fully sedated. He kicked me.
Oh.
Luckily, it was like 2 inches above my wrist, but he kicked me and punched a hole in my forearm.
Oh.
Yeah. Put it this way, I was very alert and aware of the rest of that capture for the next 2 days.
I'm sure.
Yeah. It's amazing how strong these animals are.
Yeah.
Just amazing. Well, Louis, I think our time's up, man. We won't keep you. I know you got to go to bed and get some rest because you got to get those kids out of bed at 3 a.m. tomorrow mornings.
No,
Only
we'll let
5.
them sleep in 5 o'clock.
Well, they've got to go out and milk the kudu, and then they got to get showered and get on the bus and milk some Cape Buffalo and, slop the pigs. But folks, check out Spiral Horn Safaris, spiralhorn.co.za, or you can just Google Spiral Horn Safaris. You'll see Louis' handsome face and a picture of him getting our Professional Hunter of the Year award here a couple of years ago. And listen, he's going to be at our convention in January 2025. So Ramon, you guys need to connect, and everybody come down and see Louis van Bergen, Spiral Horn Safaris, and his wonderful family at the Houston Safari Club Foundation Convention in January, coming up in 2025. Louis, thank you once again for your time.
Great hanging out with you guys. Thanks so much, and I'll see you guys in January.
Absolutely.
Hunting Matters is a Houston Safari Club Foundation production, hosted by HSCF Executive Director Joe Betar and Ramon Robles. Produced by Ramon Robles. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. For questions or more information, email us at info@wehuntwegive.org.